Hello everyone, welcome to Pepcoding. In this video, we will look at the question Battleship in board. Okay, so let's see. In this question, we are given a grid of m cross n size, right? And in this grid, we have either dots or we have x's. Okay, either we have x values or we have dots. So every x is representing a battleship and every dot is representing nothing. Okay, so we have to find how many battleships are there, right? So let's say I have this case, right? I have a case like this. In this case, how many battleships are there, right? I'm not going to include the battleships like this, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? This is not the case. Here, I'm going to say that this whole thing is a battleship and this whole is a battleship, right? So battleships can be of 1 cross k size or k cross 1 size, right? We can either have a battleship like this or like this. So for here, for in this case, we would have 1 and 2 battleships. So my answer will be 2, right? My answer will be 2 for this case. Let's say I have a case like this, right? For here, I would have 1, 2, and 3, right? So I would have 3 battleships. Okay, let's say I have a case like this. Now, this is not a valid case. This is not a valid case because if I were to count the ships, if I count horizontally, I will say that I have 2 ships, right? But if I count vertically, I will say that I have 1, 2, 3, and 4 ships, right? So I have 4 ships. That's why if you can have like multiple ships like this or this, right? This is an invalid case. Okay, so let's now look at the approach how we are going to solve this question. Okay, in this question we are just going to do a simple traversal on this. We are going to do a simple traversal on this grid, and we will see that if I am a ship or not. Okay, so let's say that if I am at, what are the cases that I can be on, right? So I can either have my I0 and J0, right? Both of them are 0, that my x is at here, right? I can have I0 or I can have J0, or I can have the case where both of them are not 0, right? So either both of them are 0, either only I is 0, either only J is 0, either both of them are not 0. Okay, so let's talk about this case. Let's talk about I is 0 and J is 0. It means that for this I is 0, J is 0, I'm talking about this cell, right? And at this cell I have a x. Now I'm going to compare every x with the previous one, right? I'm going to say that the previous one was merged with me. So if let's say I have x here, like 2 x's like this, then for this I'm going to check for this one, right? That if this is a x or not. So I'm saying that if I'm at the 0th position, then I don't have anyone to compare with, right? So I'm starting with a ship. So if I have an answer variable, right, which is storing my count of the ships, then I'm simply going to do answer plus plus here. That I'm starting with a ship. Now this is only for if board of I comma j is equals to x, right? I'm checking this for board comma j I is equals to I comma j is equals to x, right? So if I and j is 0, then I'm going to do answer plus plus, right? If I'm at this case, then I'm just going to do answer plus plus. Let's say I'm at I is equals to 0, which means this position, or I'm talking about this row, this I is equals to 0th row. For the 0th row, if I'm at this position, right, let's say I'm at here. Now before me or the previous one is a x, right? The previous of me is a x, and if my previous is a x, now how am I saying it is my previous? The one column before me should be an x, right? So if my previous is an x, or it is either going to be an x or it is not going to be an x, right? So let's say I'm at here, right? If my previous one is x, then it means that this is going to be my ship, right? I'm not going to include myself in the ship. If my previous one is a ship already, if my previous one is a x already, I'm not going to say that I am a new ship, right? I'm going to include myself as a part of the previous ship. So I'm going to say that I'm not a new ship, I'm the part of the previous ship. That's why don't include me as an answer. That's why I'm not going to do anything here, right? But let's say I'm at this position, right? If I'm at this position, then the previous one is then I don't have any previous, right? And if I don't have any previous, then I can simply say that I'm starting as a ship, right? I'm a new ship. Then I can do answer plus plus because I'm starting as a ship here. That's why at this case, if my previous is not equals to x, then I'm going to do answer plus plus, right? Similarly, for j is equals to 0, now I'm talking about this case, right? For this case, I will either have my previous as x or not as x, right? So if my previous is x, let's say I'm at this, right? I'm at this position. Now my previous is the one which is one row before me. Here my previous was the one which was one column before me, but here now I'm talking about the previous row, right? Because if j is equals to 0, I'm talking about the previous row. So if my previous row is equals to x, then I'm going to say that I'm going to include myself in that answer, right? I'm going to include myself in your answer, and I'm not going to say that I'm a new ship itself. So my answer will not increment, right? But if I'm here, right, and my previous is empty, it means that I'm starting as a new ship. That's why if I'm starting as a new ship, then I'm going to add myself in the answer, right? I'm going to uh, make myself as a new ship, right? For this case, I'm saying that if I don't have any previous, then I'm going to start as an answer. That's why I'm going to um, increment my answer. Okay, I increment the count of the ships. Now, if we have a else condition, now else condition means that I'm not at 0, not at both of them, both I and j are not at 0. Okay, so it is going to check for this case. Let's say I am at this position, right? And I have something like this. I'm at this position. I'm at this x. Now, for this x, my previous one is an empty and my previous one is empty, right? If the previous one was x here, then it would have been included like this, right? Or I have to check for both the cases, right? If, or let's say, previous of row and previous of column, right? The previous one before me, before the previous row before me and the previous column before me should both be not equal to x, right? If both of them are not equal to x, then only I'm going to increase my answer. Then only I'm going to say that I am itself, I am itself an answer, right? I am itself a new ship. Then only I can say, right? If this was not the case, then I would have included myself in the ship, in the previous ship. But now, since I'm alone, since I don't have any previous, then I can say that I am a new answer. Okay. So this is my code. It's a very simple small code. Let's try to code this now. Okay. So the first thing is, first we need an answer, right? Then an m, which is board dot length or board dot size, right? Int n, which is board of 0 dot size, right? Now I will run a for loop for int I equals 0, I is less than m, and plus plus I, right? For int j is equals to 0, j is less than n plus plus j, right? Now I'm going to check if board of I comma j is x or not. If it is equals to x, then I will have four conditions. That if I is equals to 0 and j is equals to 0, right? Else if I is 0 only, else if only j is 0, else none of them are 0. Right? If I is 0 and j is 0, then I'm going to increment my answer. If I is 0, then I will check if board of the previous column, right? I'm going to talk about the previous column since I'm at the 0th row, right? If it is not equal to x, then only I'm going to increment my answer. Right? Here, I will check if my previous row is not equals to x, then only I'm going to increment my answer. Right? Else for that case, I have to check for both the previous's, right? For I and for I, j minus 1 is not equals to x, right? For the previous column and for the previous row. So I minus 1 comma j is not equals to x, right? For both these cases, if this is true, then I'm going to increment my answer. And after this, I'm just going to return my answer. Okay. So this looks fine. Let's run this code. It is successful. Let's submit this. Is also submitted. So I hope you understand this question. If you don't, I would suggest you watch the part which you don't understand. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Thank you for watching.